Hey everybody, long time no see for some of you. Today we're going to bring you some quick training and update about the Tucson Collaborative Community Care Team, and then a little handy referral guide that we are sending out to everybody. It's going to be located on the S drive under Forms TC3, and you can find it there. We're also going to try to get some laminated copies out to each of the trucks, but you can print those up and have them posted at the station, or you can put them in your trucks for quick reference on calls, what to do, who to refer to us, so on and so forth. I'm going to go over really quick, go through the sheet with you and then bring up a couple things as we move along. The first thing I want to talk about is who to refer. You guys can go ahead down the bullet points, but the big takeaway from this is anyone who you think is not using 911 appropriately, or maybe their emergency could have been prevented with medical care. So that can be someone having something like an anxiety attack, all the way to someone who maybe they are hypertensive, maybe their blood pressure is 220 over 180, but you notice that their medications are spilled out all over the table, and you think it's something that with medication management could have been prevented. So you want to kind of send anybody our way. The things we can't take are any agencies or facilities that maybe are causing a problem. That's got to go to your district management team. How to refer. So real quick, when you have your EPCR pulled up under Patient Assessment tab, you're going to select the Trauma TC3 CRR tab, and you're going to check the reasons. After that, you're going to select the Outcome tab, select Signature tab, and then select TC3 Referral from the signature type list. Go ahead and complete the form, obtain signature. If you're unable to obtain the signature for any reason, you can go ahead and sign, and that'll give us a verbal agreement. The reason the signature is so important for us is because it gives us a lot of leeway on what we can do before we go out to see people. It gives us permission to access their health information exchange information, so we know what hospital they're at, what they've been in the hospital for, things like that. It also allows us to have a release of information for the client, so we're able to actually start acting on their behalf even before we've gone out to see them, which means we can call partnership agencies, we can reach out to other places, give them information, and ask for information in return as well. So after that, you're going to complete your TC3 narrative, which we would prefer as a separate narrative on the narrative page. So you write your regular patient narrative, and then under that you can label it TC3 and just specifically say why you think we need to intervene. Things we're looking at that help us out, the more information you can provide, the better, because we do have a wait list, so we try to prioritize our clients the best we can. We're looking at things like socioeconomic barriers. So if you know that they don't have money, they don't have family in town, they don't have friends that are helping them, things like that really help us. Environmental hazards, so what condition is their home in? Is there fecal matter on the floor? Any behavioral substance abuse history you can find, and any aging and medical concerns you might identify. Those are some big things that we try to look at and address. Also, any information you can gather on the front end is great. If you want to ask about caseworkers, case management, anything like that, it's going to be a big help in the end for us. Fourth, you want to make sure you have their name, date of birth, their address. If for some reason you get them on a corner, obviously if they're homeless, they might not have an address, and that's okay. You can just kind of in the notes let us know where maybe you're seeing the client. And then a phone number is super helpful. Obviously, that might not be the case with everybody that you can get a phone number, but if you can, it helps us out because, again, we can start acting before we even go out the door to go see the person. If for any reason the EPCR gives you any trouble and you can't submit a referral that way, go ahead and send an email, and you're going to send that to TFD_TC3_help. It should pop up pretty much right after you put TFD_T. It should be the first thing that pops up. The things we're going to need in the email is the name, date of birth, address, phone number. If you have a report number, with that, we're going to need that, and then you can include your TC3 narrative in the email if you prefer, rather than sending it in the EPCR. So that real quick is just who to refer and how to refer. A couple other things I wanted to bring up real quick before we move on is that when you're thinking about who to refer, we're going to start asking that you don't wait till it's a frequent flyer. I'm talking, 20, 30 calls. We'd like to know the sooner the better. So if you identify someone who you think is at risk that could benefit from our program, please send them the first time you see them. We've pulled a lot of numbers, and I can tell you that we have better success the earlier we intervene with someone. 5 or less, we almost have no recidivism. 10 or less, it goes up a little bit. 20 or more, it starts getting more significant. Overall, we've had a great outcome of, I believe, about 85% reduction with the clients the teams have been seeing, so they've been doing a great job. A couple other things we're going to ask for you guys to do on scene is notify APS. The phone number is 1-877-76-2385. And we're going to ask that you do that for anyone who's 18 years of older and meets the following criteria. They're vulnerable, which means they can't protect themselves, or they're incapacitated, which means they're impaired by mental, physical, or chronic drug and alcohol abuse. They're being abused, neglected, or exploited by someone else, or they qualify for self-neglect. This could be deprivation of food, water, medication, medical services, or shelter. This is the one that I think a lot of us forget about sometimes, myself included, but if someone is doing something to themselves that's causing them to be neglected, that is an APS required report. So anytime you go to somebody, if you feel like they meet any of those standards, go ahead and notify APS. That helps us a lot on the front end. For example, with hoarding homes, APS is the only agency that has funding to help clean up those homes. So the sooner you get the notification out there, the sooner they get assigned an agent, and we can coordinate with them. Otherwise, it kind of puts us a little bit back on the tail end because we may be going out in the field to intervene just to find that we need to file an APS claim to get cleanup of their house set up. We're working on some other avenues with different agencies for cleanups, but APS right now is the only guaranteed way we can get that accomplished. When we're going to notify DCS, which is the Department of Child Services, a lot of people just say CPS in the field. They changed their name, I think, because too many people thought CPS was bad. Their number is 1-877-767-2445. You guys do great with kids. I think everybody does great with kids. But just as a quick reminder, anytime you go to anyone who's under 18, who's being exploited, abused, or neglected, please notify DCS and then follow up with us as well, because we're going to want to know and see what we can do and make sure some things are happening for them, see if there's any added services we can provide. The other thing we're asking, which is a little newer, is that you notify code enforcement anytime you're at a hoarding home or a home that meets the following criteria: a dilapidated structure, so that's something that isn't safe for you guys to even be in; unsanitary conditions, this could be biohazard feces, just filth everywhere; pests like cockroaches or rodents that you identify; any unsafe living conditions, that's hoarding; or any hazardous conditions that you notice that could cause a fire or explosions, anything like that. And really, I'm asking you guys to do that and take the time if you feel it's appropriate when you're on scene, because in those situations, the home's not safe for us, it's not safe for the client, and we need to get them out. We do have plans in place for if someone's house gets condemned, but if they refuse everything, they could potentially be homeless. But we have not had that come up. We've had about 12 to 15 cases this year so far alone, and we have not had an issue like that present itself yet. Sometimes people take convincing, but eventually they kind of see the help. And what we found helps on our end is once code enforcement's there, they can condemn the house, and now the client's on a timeline. So now they kind of have to act within a certain amount of time, versus before it would be TC3 going out and trying to convince them. If they refuse services, there's really not a whole lot more we can do. We can't go in after the fact. Code enforcement can't go in after the fact unless they invite them in. But if you're there, you can call code enforcement, and because you have essentially taking control of that property, you can turn it over to code enforcement, and then they can condemn the house if that's necessary. Again, I know there's a whole bunch of things that can come into play when you're thinking about doing that. Time of night, keeping your crew out of service. I'm not here to Monday night quarterback anybody, and I'm not going to second guess any decisions you guys make out in the field. But we are asking that if you can, you take the time. It should be about an hour. Code enforcement can show up, do their thing, send us a referral, and then we can take over from there and try and coordinate with them. The last thing we want to talk about is a warm handoff. So we talked about a couple different ways of doing this, but if you guys call that main CRC number at 622-6000, they can connect you to either resource, which would be either the mobile response team for a behavioral health crisis, or if a patient's requesting detox and for alcohol or substance abuse. They can transfer you over to CBI, you can set up the rides, and then they can take care of either of those with that one central number. That way it's just a little less to have to remember. When you call in, just so you guys know, you're going to need the patient name, a phone number if they have it, and then the date of birth. Usually that's going to be enough. Sometimes, depending on who the operator is, they might ask you a couple more follow-up questions. What you guys need to make sure you do is identify yourself as Tucson Fire. They should know what to do at that point. They're going to transfer you over to another line once you tell them what you're looking for, which you're going to just say is you're requesting transport for someone who wants to go to detox for substance abuse or alcohol, or you're going to say I have someone who's having a behavioral health crisis and they need the mobile response team to come out to them. Then they'll transfer you to the right operator. They'll get some more information, find out where you are, patient name, date of birth, phone number if you can, and then they'll go ahead and send somebody out. That's the warm handoff. You don't have to wait around unless you feel like it's necessary. It's kind of going to be up to you on that situation. Anyway, real quick, guys, that's the TC3 referral guide. We're going to be at CE this for second quarter, so hopefully if you have any questions, we can answer them there, and we can go over a couple things in a little bit more detail. I hope I didn't keep you too long. I know Target Solutions can be a pain, and I don't want to contribute to that if I can avoid it, but our time got taken away a little bit at CE this go around, so we're trying to improvise and get this out to you before CE so you can ask questions there. Look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you so much.